All right, so today I get to sit down with a truly extraordinary woman, a truly extraordinary athlete, and an incredible business owner here in Central Oregon. Today, you and I get to have a conversation with Renee Metivier. Did I get that correct? Okay, yes. Good. And as I began to put together her bio, it's 4 pages long. This is a woman who, since high school, has hit and achieved and broken records and made national and international recognition in the field of running. One of the things she told me is she is the only athlete, period, to have championships in track, road, and trail running. That is just the tiniest taste of everything that Renee has achieved. She is a professional athlete and a business owner here in Bend. She owns a business called Recharge, where it's personal training, rehab, therapy, the physical life, essentially. All of the injuries and damage you've done to your body, this is how you have handled it and created an entire business around productive and therapeutic exercise, yeah?
Yes.
So, starting there, now let me introduce Renee Metivier. And here we go. So you have created a life for yourself focused on physical performance. And you have been doing that for now 20-something years?
25.
25 years?
It's crazy when you think about it.
And you're almost in your 6th year of owning your business here in Bend. Mm-hmm. So what I want to do is my first thing, like as I look at all your accomplishments, all your achievements, the first thing I think about is, how did you get to a place where that was something you knew you wanted to do with your life? Like, you were in gymnastics as a kid, is that correct?
Yeah.
So you started in gymnastics. Were you also running then as well?
I started gymnastics at age 4, so okay. As well as soccer, because you've met me already. I have a lot of energy, yeah. So even as a small child, it had to be directed somewhere, and sports was always kind of my aptitude. But running didn't start till I was 12 after a big gymnastics injury at age 10 and 11. So injuries kind of started early for me.
Right. It seems to be the case for a lot of gymnasts.
Any athlete in general, if you're, and any person who's pushing themselves and trying to get the most. I think my passion in my business came to help alleviate or prevent a lot of those things from happening and sharing that knowledge. But even then, like when you're working hard, some are inevitable when you're pushing that line, that envelope. But the goal is to stay below it and like listen to your body. Right below it. But I think a lot of my injuries are what spurred me to a different path. They're very heartbreaking, and starting over is one of the hardest things you can do. I've seen so many athletes quit, or I meet people on the street like, oh, I can't run anymore because of this. And I'm like, well, did you try everything? There's a lot of research out there now. And maybe 10 years ago, the research was different. And like your passion to do this when you don't have this outlet in Bend, which is crazy to me. And then when you said not in Portland as well, people wanting to really highlight the passions and pursuits of others. I found the same thing in the sport world. Even as a pro, the things that are available you think are limitless aren't. And the research is you think the internet makes it better, but there's so many things and so many different research articles, and you have to look at who's the study about, what was their sample size, and most people don't know how to navigate that and have that resource. And so that is what pushed me to that next level.
I want to back up to when you were not necessarily 12 when you first started running, but let's say a few years into that. Sounds like from the research, from doing some background research, you excelled early. Like in high school, you...
First race, actually, at 12. I knew my path in the first race.
But so that's my question is, like, literally, was it like the first race you ever ran and you're like, I want to do this for the rest of my life? Or how do you develop to a point where someone makes a decision to be a professional athlete,
I guess
professional runner?
That's
because
a big
it's not
question.
it's not a traditional path.
Well, especially when I did it. So I've been pro for 14 years now,
Okay.
going on my 15th year, and women in particular were less seen in that role. Even
Certainly,
my parents didn't. I mean, they wanted me to get a scholarship because Title IX was already there,
Right.
And so that was kind of the driving force. But once I got my scholarship and college paid for, that wasn't supposed to be my focus anymore.
Then they're like, move along.
Yeah, but like I don't know how many people would told me that's a real job. Like,
Right,
like
yeah,
you make
that's-
money doing that, like running. I'm like, yes. A lot of people run. It's one of what's cool about running, and obviously I'm very passionate about it, so I'm
Yeah.
going to be biased. Anybody can do it. At any age, you don't even need anything really. I mean, you can be barefoot if you need to. I think shoes are better, but that's really
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Traveling, I mean, it's something you can do forever, and it has a lot of following. And I think that's, I mean, the running boom happened in the 70s, and I think it just continued. Obviously, the marathon's big, which if we fast forwarded, that's how I got into the marathon, because you kind of have to. No, I'm kidding, you don't have to. But it's kind of the premier event of
Right,
running.
right.
So when I didn't do the marathon, I don't know how many times when people found out I'm a runner, do you run the marathon? I'm like, no,
like,
but one day.
Right.
One day. But it is a special event.
Okay.
But when I was 12, to go backwards,
Yeah.
I knew my sport pretty much day one. I was always good at sports, like I said, but that one I shined in the first race. And I think it's true of people that I'm passionate about running just for the love of it, and it's become a part of me. But when you're really good at something, that it helps, like especially at a young age, you're definitely very much more excited about it right away. And I've grown a lot since that first race, because I was a cocky.
12.
I was a cocky little shit back then. I'm not gonna like it's true. Like
Right.
it was bad. I mean, I came in like this. I was like, I
yeah.
got the record in my first race. Was 200 meters ahead. I was just
Right.
jogging in, and I'm like, I'm sold. This is this is it.
You're like, I am on top of the
Yeah,
world.
well, that's before all the hard work happened, and
Right,
I
right.
realized how
You're like-
much it's one of the most lonely sports in some ways, and also, like I said, millions of people do it. So it's this weird sport where millions of people can relate to you, but yet you're really alone in most of your training.
Right.
And there's less women for me to run with a lot of times, so I have to train with men, and which is wonderful. I think women are fortunate that we can find training partners a lot and pacers. But when I started, it was still not seen as a job.
Because you went to school or went to college on scholarship
Yeah.
for running, but you got both a BA in mathematics and a BA in business administration with a math focus or
Economics.
Economics.
So
economics degree with a business focus.
Yeah.
Did those happen at the same time?
Yeah, all of them.
That all happened at the same time. It having no mathematical in natural ability whatsoever. It just was that, and I know at some point further down the road you even thought about a PhD in mathematics.
Started it, but never.
Was that? But it seems that running was always the passion and always
I love
the
math.
pursuit.
It's like this
Okay.
hidden side of me that people don't always notice,
Right.
or get shocked about once they find out. Like, wait, you're bubbly and an athlete. You like math? I'm like, yeah, I like math. Secret nerd. But it makes sense to me. It's rational. Even though I like that quote where like your feet are on the ground but head in the clouds.
Right.
They're like my two sides of myself. But I think it's like I'm organized and rational and driven, and mathematics kind of is similar in a different way. And so I still have a passion for math, but running and athleticism and the pursuit of your best self is my real, like, what really, like when you have a passion for something and you have that fire, that one, hands down. Like, it's a huge fire.
Okay.
Like, I love math. it's beyond love of what I do now.
And so something you just said caught my attention. It intrigues me. Is it it seems that, yes, you are absolutely passionate and loving about running, but it seems that there is a bigger picture to that as well for you of pursuing your best self.
Yeah.
Is that the real heart and soul of what drives you?
Yeah, and I've done a lot of sports when I was younger, and every single one of them I kind of put full effort in. Running's where I excel the most, but it's with everything I do. And I think the reason running, not only do I excel at it, but it challenges me more than anything else does. You don't have anyone else to rely on. It's very numbers driven. It's all about current and what you can do now. But injuries and other setbacks, which actually attributes to life as well, across the board. All of us have had setbacks. And I think that pursuit of not just yourself athletically, but you as a person as a result. And I think most of us hate things that get in the way of that. So.
Right.
Yeah.
So I want to go back to when you were in college now. And I'm sure your parents were like, yeah, mathematics degree or economics degree, like there's something you can actually put in a job, right?
Yeah. Actually, they still didn't even like those. They wanted me to be an engineer.
And, because mathematics and economics wasn't hardcore enough, I guess, right? And so they were like, honey, shouldn't you be doing some like engineering classes or something that you can actually use?
Yeah.
And was there a conversation? Was there a sort of breakthrough moment for you where you were like, nope, like I am following this path until I drop?
I mean, exactly what you said times 1,000. But I did a speech with these young girls on empowerment and non-traditional paths, and not everyone has the opportunity to be a pro athlete. It's 1% of 1% that actually go to making money at it. And I made very good money at it at one point, which is rare as a female on top of that.
Right.
So when I was speaking, I was like, you don't know. I've had so many people tell me I'm done. I have videos of me in high school racing, and there's people in the crowd saying I'm done. And because I was going through mono at the time, and we didn't know it though. And there's a lot of changes that happen to your body at that time, and you can accept what people say, or you can just use that as fuel. And I use it as fuel. I actually like hearing it because I like to prove people wrong. But I still got my degree. I still did 20 hours a semester at times. Like, I still put the work into my future at all times. Like, I don't believe in not having a backup plan. But at the same token, I was all in. It was there, but I never thought of it as a backup plan. It was just another side of me. I don't believe anyone's one-dimensional anyways. And even though running is that passion for me, and I had this opportunity, and I didn't even know where it was going to go with all the injuries I've had, but I only had, you're only young once. You only have one shot. You can't go back and do that.
Right.
You have your shot then, and I would have regretted it for the rest of my life if I didn't try. And I was really fortunate. Nike signed me right out of college, so I had the outlet. I would have made way more money doing stuff with my math degree. Because when I graduated, there was 35 of us and only 5 females with a math degree. A pure math degree is actually more rare. And at the time, especially a female. So I had job offers, but I turned them down because I knew what I wanted to do. And I had the opportunity to. I was really fortunate. Also, I'm very good at numbers. So I'm very good at making sure budgeting and finances and making it feasible for myself.
Right.
Hence why I was able to open a business as well, because I didn't just spend my money and blow it.
Right.
So I think being smart about things and setting yourself up well, but you have to give yourself that shot. Otherwise, I would have regretted it for the rest of my life. I'm still not done. I'm
Right.
37 now, and I'm like, okay, I have 8 months to the next trials. So I believe if you really want it, whether you fall short or not, that's the passion, and it's not the end result always either. But during it, I made sure to cross my T's and dot my I's.
Was there a moment where your parents came around, where they
I don't know if they
still to this day, they're still like, really, you could go back and do math?
They do, but then they're still on there like, when's your next race? So I
Right.
think it's like that traditionalist generations. It's hard, sometimes to get past like social norms.
Right.
And I'm not having kids, and I
Right.
live across the country, and I've been divorced, and I've broken my leg, and I'm still not off my path.
Right.
But in some ways, like, I think they're proud of it, because
Right.
I just saw them this last weekend, and they're asking me how it's going, and I think when you stick something through and you're determined,
Yeah.
it will work out.
And it sounds like you've also worked with young women specifically to like try to motivate them to follow their own passions. Yeah, whatever that may be. Is that centered mostly around sports, or is your message like whatever it is, go for it?
Whatever it is, but obviously my platform is sports, and I believe it's important to use your platform, whatever that may be, for good, and to better the community. And so, I mean, like part of my business is about that in itself, like in inspiring and empowering and, teaching and sharing knowledge. I think a lot of us want to be closed off and protect what we've learned. Oh, I'm not going to post my workout. I'm not going to put it on
Right.
Strava. People are going to be watching. And I think that's changing in the world. It's not just, individuals anymore breaking that mold. And I
Right. think
the more people are sharing, and more about bettering the community and not about how it benefits them. I think it's the direction the world's going, and any way I can be a part of that is exciting to me. Like you had said before, pursuit of your best self, and that means whatever it may be. And when you can share that and help someone else be better, it's like how I got into coaching. Like I almost get more excited about that than anything else at this point.
Right. So that question of helping others, how you help others pursue their best self. I think in doing the research or doing the background research on you, it was after an injury, after your Achilles injury or something, you got to train like the National Olympic Training Center or Running Center, where they offered all the modern like cryotherapy and all the modern rehab techniques that you now have integrated into your business.
Yeah.
How did you? What was the impetus to take it from what you experienced? What made you then say, I'm going to now open my own gym, my own business, and do this professionally? Because I assume you were still fully committed as a professional runner.
Yeah, it was a big step, and I did not know what I was getting into, I will be honest. But like I said, I didn't give up. So I was really fortunate. So after that surgery, which was a big deal, I went to Sweden. I think the real motivation was there was a 5-year struggle with my Achilles. Not having answers. I got multiple MRIs. I went to Palo Alto to the best surgeon there. I went to New York, got shockwave therapy, PRP, Prolo, was at the training center, and there were still no answers. And it was 5-year. I mean, I had good success during that 5 years, but I was usually always in pain. And it wouldn't always last. Usually towards the end of outdoor track, after doing 3 seasons, I would struggle. I did win a national title during that time somehow, but so it was just like up and down. And I think all the therapy and all the training, and that's when I really got into exploring. It's when I got a Pilates cert, a yoga cert, my first personal training cert. I went to everything: visualization, sports psychology. I even did not just sports psychology, but brain training, where as a muscle, where I'm on a bounce board throwing a bean bag and counting the alphabet, and someone's clapping behind me, and I have to remember how many times they clapped, but not miss a beat or ruin my balance. I went through every piece you could go. I mean, I would go into a squat and visualize my SI joint moving, and like going through every little piece of the puzzle. And I finally ended up having surgery in Sweden and getting my answers, moved into the training center, and immersed myself in 6 months of nothing else. Like, I was with the head physiologists, head coaches, head doctors, PT every day. What you've been to my center, it's kind of everything in one place. And that doesn't mean I don't work with people outside of there, but you have this resource where there's all different people that can kind of powwow and work together. And then having access to a recovery center with the gym, with the therapist, like, because most of us can't afford to get therapy every day, even me. Like, well, I meant then. Now I really can't. Like, I'm busy. But it adds up. But our bodies, we only have one, and being injured across the board and having setbacks, or starting to not love what you enjoy most, because there's times it wasn't fun to go out the door and run. Like, when you're in pain, I get to the point where I couldn't jump over a puddle. And I was still racing professionally, and I'm like, I'm a pro athlete who can't jump over a puddle. This is not okay. And so I just learned so much there, and I already knew a lot, or I thought I did. And the research, I'm actually against cryotherapy. It's a whole separate thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a reason we don't have one.
Okay.
But they do not have that at the training center, just so you know. I am into ice compression, but actual cryo saunas, the research doesn't support. Again, looking in the depth into the research articles, it does have some positives, which we can cut this part out.
No, I think we should.
But
we'll just embrace the conflict, embrace the debate.
I mean, I'm not against them. They have a huge placebo effect. You can feel it immediately. You're just not in it long enough for it to penetrate past the epidermis layer. And if you were, you'd have frostbite. So, but that doesn't mean I don't see a purpose for it. It is getting the capillaries in the skin. There is that thermo regulation where your blood is going to move to your heart and then come back out. But you get that much greater in a hot cold tub. You get that much greater in Normatec. You get that much greater in an infrared sauna. So you do get some positive effects. But the research currently, there is a few positives, but you have to look at the control groups and who they're testing. And right now the research just is not conclusive enough to pay $50 a session when you can get much more out of a hot cold tub or a sauna.
And just to back up for a second a little bit, to kind of bring everyone who hasn't seen the recharge facility up to speed.
Sorry, I went way off.
It is a personal training studio with every, kettlebells and machines and weights. And it is also, there are offices for chiropractors and massage therapists and acupuncturists, as well as an entire suite of like hot and cold plunge, an infrared sauna, and this company called Normatec that makes they make sleeves that exert compression and ice. They circulate ice water through there for cold treatment as well, and it's it's way more than any other gym I've ever been in.
So I was the first in the world that I know of. Let me rephrase that.
Right.
I at least in America, to put it all together. I still haven't seen it all put together by one person at the level, but a lot of them are popping up now. I'd like to say I had some part in it, but probably not. I think they've been around a while, just at pro level and hospitals, and I think it's just now getting more into the public, that taking care of your body is really important.
So the passion for you has always been, I think that, like we were saying, that deeper passion of like becoming your best self, yeah? Mm-hmm. And for you, it's through the mechanism, through the sport of running.
Yeah.
But then it seems like you also, it sounds like you wanted to help other people achieve their best selves through the gym.
Yeah.
But was the gym also was that another venue for you to like see if you could perform at that level and you know, be your best self and be a business person and add to that the question, like, was it ever a thing for you that you're like, I want to be a strong female business owner, set that standard, set that bar high?
Yeah, I mean, there is a part of that because, like I said, when I was younger, that wasn't the norm. But I think in this day and age, it's morphed, and it doesn't matter what I'm doing. I always want to do the best I can do and see how strong or how well I can perform in each. I hold myself to a high standard, to put it. And I don't think it's female related anymore. I really think it's just about being a good role model of anyone who wants to pursue their passion and not quit. And not just make it happen, but do it at the best level you can, and never settle. I never stop, kind of trying to make it better. And being your model for that is cool. I'm not gonna lie, that's cool. I doesn't mean I haven't had some failures along the way and made changes and learned from them and got better. But at this point, I like to be it doesn't matter who you are and what gender you are. I'd like to break that female. I mean, I am a strong female business owner, but I hate when someone calls and they're like, "Can I talk to the business owner?" And where is he? And I'm like, "No, it's me." And then they're like, "Little girl with pink hair." No, really. And I'm like, "No, really, it's me." But I think that's changing. I'm getting less and less of that when people call. Yeah. Even strangers when they come to the front. And I think it's exciting, just whoever you are, no matter what you look like, tattoos, pink hair, small, that people see you as strong. And it doesn't, I even hate that statement, strong for a girl, or, it's I think strong is, whatever gender you are, it's irrelevant. It's confident, strong. Those are the most attractive qualities to me. It doesn't matter what your gender is. And so if you embody that, I think it doesn't matter who you are. So, sorry, that was a little more verbose than I meant it to be.
That was awesome. That was a great statement of belief and position, I think.
Yeah.
There.
So I'm all about equality and but I also want it to be I see the future as it doesn't matter who you are and what gender you are, and stop being you're doing well and strong female business owner and just say strong business owner. And that's kind of where I want to see it going.
Nice. That's great.
All of us have to kind of embody that, and so if I'm doing my part is where I can do, which obviously I'm female and an athlete. But.
So you said that you're 37 years old. You're still rocking and rolling, still as passionate as ever about competition. Do you see yourself, you're like, I'm going to do this until I fall over one day? Is this something, it sounds like it will be a lifetime passion for you forever.
I want to be 80 on the start line trying to beat the people that are 60.
That's awesome. That's
I
great.
will probably have pink hair and some weird outfit on, but I won't care. The reason I think my passion, my business is kind of geared to that. I've had so many setbacks, and I see it in other people too, and they give up. And having a place that is that middle ground that can give you positivity and inspiration and help you get through those darker times. But I am getting older, so I've had to accept a little bit. I've broken my leg. I'm at 3 surgeries on this ankle. It's not the same as it was when I was 30, but
unbroken in 30.
But I don't accept it as meaning I can't still pursue that. I just keep working as hard as I can to be as strong as I can. I don't just accept that it's diminished. I just keep working on strengthening it, getting the mobility back, and I don't give up on it because the alternative is sitting on the couch,
Right.
and that's not me.
Right.
So
Exactly. You're like, the alternative is just gonna suck.
yeah.
So I'll be damned if I want to just accept that.
And I think I have another shot.
Well, and your last surgery was only a couple of months ago, is that correct?
7 months.
7 months ago? And then after that surgery, it was only a few months after that you won.
The first surgery. So this is my second.
So sorry,
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep all the ankle surgeries
there's a
straight.
lot, so
the first surgery that put pins in your ankle and put metal in your
that was
ankle.
2.5 years ago.
2.5 years ago, but it was only a few months after that you sort of popped up on the trail running scene, right?
Yeah, so I ran my first race post-op at 5 months, which is kind of nuts for a bone reconstruction. And I think I was hyperventilating on the start line. Like, what am I doing here? I'm not ready. I've done like one workout. Because I didn't want to force it. Like, anyone who's seen me rehab, I know you see this like energy that wants to get stuff done, but I honor the rehab process, and you cannot force your body. Like, your body will tell you when it's ready. Now, I was healthy. I may not have been my fittest, but I was healthy at that point and ready to complete it. But, we hold ourselves to high standards. So I was on it like, okay. And then the race director comes over and he's like, it'd be amazing if you won your first race back. And I was like, don't do that to me.
Yeah, right.
I was just hoping not to embarrass myself. But I also wanted to inspire people not to be scared to go out there because people are watching. I'm like, people are watching and I'm still here because I'm like, I don't care. I'm just so happy. I worked so hard in my rehab. Like, I didn't even have a social life for that 5 months. I like literally worked out or rehabbed or worked. There was nothing else.
Right.
And it was so important to me. That's how I stay positive when I'm hurt. I put everything into rehab and recovery and eating well and making bone broth and doing all the stuff I don't spend enough time now. But so I was so happy to be there. And for me, I need to have a goal to put in always. Like, I'm very goal oriented, and so I like having a goal right there. So fast forward, I got second.
Right.
I almost won. I don't know how. I literally was on the ground. But I think it was not here that made that happen.
Right.
Obviously, I'm a talented athlete, but it was here and not putting limits on myself when I started the race. And just said, you know what, I'm going to have the most fun I can have. If I'm 15th, 10th, first, it doesn't matter. And a lot of us hold ourselves back from what we want to do because we're scared of what the results could be.
Right.
And I like to live as an eternal optimist. So.
An internal optimist?
Eternal
optimist.
Eternal optimist.
An eternal optimist.
Yeah,
I was like,
I can be completely out of shape and on the start line, I think I might win. Like, even though I really.
And then after that race, you won an award, or there was some sort of recognition of you?
Yeah, so that was just a road race, and then I won. So that was 5 months. It took me 9 months post-op to run a trail race. I was a little nervous of the trails.
And you kind of got sucked into that by your friends, right?
Yeah.
Your friends were like, no, come on, Renee, do this race. And you're like, you people are crazy.
Well, I still had metal in my ankle, and trails are really technical, and rocks and hills, and I hadn't done any of that with my ankle yet. I've been keeping it pretty chill. But we have this amazing Bend community full of just incredible, it wasn't just pros, it was like a whole bunch. Like, you had the pros, but then it's just like our community is just, everyone's doing epic things all the time. And so there's a huge group going, and it sounded fun, and I was like, that's it, I'm getting back on the trails, I'm gonna do it. And then I won my 4th national title. So
that's amazing.
It was pretty fun, and then that's where the real peer pressure happened for the 50 mile after that, which was not a good idea. But
okay.
I'm gonna get back to it, but there was some crying and some walking, but it was a good race because I think when we're humbled, sometimes it gives us another thing to drive for. Because right now I've done a lot, and so like something like an ultra is so new for me. I don't even understand where the pain is, where it's completely different than like a shorter event. And so it's exciting because I don't have anything to compare it to. And so it's just like with strength training. When I started that, it was so new and I could learn so many different things, and it was exciting. But really it's exciting to how do I apply it to my sport. And I've gone completely off topic here.
No, you're totally on topic. I think.
That part
I think we're good.
I like went some tangent there.
Well, and so there was a quote. One of the quotes you have on a board in the gym.
Could you tell it was my handwriting?
I don't know. I wasn't entirely sure who had written it, but it is a quote from Michael Jordan who says, "Never say never because limits, like fears, are often just an illusion."
It's my favorite.
Is that kind of a mantra for you? We talked a little bit before we started filming about personal mantras, and that seems to resonate with you like all the way to your core.
Yeah, it's probably my favorite. I mean, it's the great Michael Jordan.
Yeah, right.
So, but it's not just about that. It's kind of started like I was in the training center and there's this coach from Trinidad and Tobago and he always went, "Never say never," and like all the time. And then I realized where it came from, the quote, and then I heard the whole quote, and I was in the midst of my long rehab with the Achilles, which is kind of for a runner, like real low rods, 50-50 especially to a high caliber again, on coming back. And I think I just liked it because most of us don't know what our limits are, like really what our personal limits are. It's hard to get the most out of yourself. There's so many obstacles you put in your own way. It's like why I love competing. It's not about the other people, it's about you, and they help bring out what you can, like the most you can get out of yourself. It's not about beating other people. And I think some people get that backwards sometimes in life. And so to me, it's about getting past, like realizing there's so many illusions you put on yourself and fears. And I just love it's like life, sports, everything that usually it's an illusion. And I don't know, I just really resonated with it. So
that's neat.
So I'm getting hot now thinking about it. I'm ready to race.
Breaking a sweat. You're like,
no,
okay.
I'm ready to go. I'm like, let's go race.
So there are a few other quotes that you had, I think, on your website or on another website, that baptism under fire leads to, quote, the only kind of respect that matters in the world. Self-respect.
That's Rocky.
Yeah.
So I love Bruce Lee, Rocky, and Michael Jordan.
Right. I think there is a Bruce Lee quote here as well.
Yeah. That was I posted that after my second marathon. So my first one was incredible. I ran really fast. And the second one, less so. Okay. It was probably the most painful day of my life, besides breaking my leg. But I was so happy at the finish line because I never quit. And I actually felt like I got more out of myself in that race than the fast one. So the fast one, there's rare moments when you talk to runners where like you're floating and it's that runner's high. They're actually rare for everybody. And it was one of those days where I was at mile 20 before I was like, oh, I'm at 20. I was doing this at mile 10 on the next one. Yeah, wow. I was like, oh my gosh, I have 16 miles to go. And I was doing thumbs down. And it was a struggle bus. And the whole race, I just went one more step, literally for like 2 hours. And I never even thought about another step. And when I finished that race, I didn't have anything left, like not even a fraction of anything left. And so that quote resonates with me because it's that baptism under fire. You don't really know what you're made of until you challenge it. When it's easy to do well when it's easy. But what happens when you're challenged or tested or the going gets rough or a setback happens? And so that quote, how baptism and fire, and that's the way to self-respect. And it's like, that was the day I realized, like, I'm not a quitter. Like, it doesn't matter. I'm going to try my hardest.
But it doesn't sound like you ever doubted that about yourself before either.
I think you don't really realize it till you're fully tested. You can think you have it,
right? But
it's different when you experience it versus like I don't quit.
Think about it.
But it's really, like I said, it's really hard to get everything out of yourself. To your full potential, to reach your full potential. Right. It's really hard. you're your own enemy in that sense. And you got to learn to like dance with the discomfort and kind of learn to almost embrace it and not see it as that. And I'm not talking about just running. I'm talking about anything in life. So, you know, it gets hard, everything, you know, and at some point, I think everyone's been through a struggle, and how you can get through that and kind of get through the other side. And so you're right, I'm not a quitter, but like, it's different getting every ounce out of yourself, like every single aspect, and knowing that you didn't leave a single thing on that table, like not even a fraction of energy in the reserves. And that's why I love running so much, because it tests that so well. Like, like.
Well, I was listening to an interview just the other day, and the guy being interviewed was talking about how he said a couple of things that I found to be fascinating, which tie in exactly with what I think you're saying, which is, he was like, pain is the only thing that will force us to grow out of our comfort zones.
Yeah.
And that he was saying that in his life, the most difficult times in his life are the times that taught him resilience and forced him to grow and made him into the person he is now, that allowed him to write a book and to be a CEO and to be a leader. And he was like, we appreciate the lessons that we learn from those hard times, even though it can be truly gut-wrenching, painful, emotionally painful, physically painful times. But so it's not that we like appreciate the pain, but we appreciate what it forced us to learn.
Yeah.
And he was saying that sort of his approach now is to be preemptively grateful, if you will, for the lessons that pain teaches.
Which is a skill.
So when hard times come up, he sort of tries to embrace them. And he was like, how much better would our lives be if we didn't dread emotional pain, physical pain, because, and it sounds like that's exactly what has driven you or has helped you, like when your goal is become your best self. Well, if pain forces growth, you kind of have come to embrace the painful moments.
It's actually really beautiful the way you put it, because it's not
Well,
always so easy to put that in so succinct words. It's like when I'm rehabbing someone and they're just, oh, it's going to take 6 months. I was ever going to come back. And I'm like, you know what? I came back faster from my Achilles surgery in that huge time period where I had to grow and learn. But I spent so much time even on the ground doing things immediately, because I was in that amazing environment at the training center. And I was fitter, like even with no running, coming back, because every imbalance was kind of addressed.
Had been addressed.
Yeah, from like
the
beginning in the ground. And just get into the nitty gritty and start over, but with a fresh palette and build up appropriately instead of us go. Not ever wanting to take a step back and see what you can make better. When someone finds something like they need to work on, I'm like, be excited about that. Because you're gonna fix something and be better. And like, you're gonna feel better than ever. You're gonna be stronger. You're gonna be you're gonna be more bulletproof. And so you can basically future-proof your body almost in ways. And so I have a different outlook with injuries at this point, because every single one of mine have made me better. Like,
it was just
every single
exactly what the point of that, of what he was saying was.
But at the time, it's hard to realize that. And so it takes a few to sometimes get that nailed in. But I think with more people sharing their stories, I hate and love social media, but it's like, it's such a good resource of people not just sharing, the highlights, but more and more people are sharing their struggles. And I think that's empowering everyone to look at things differently.
If I can, and you can tell me if this is not an area you want to kind of delve into, but exploring that same concept of pain forcing growth, but in in your personal life, in relationships, that seems like territory you've walked as well.
Unfortunately and fortunately.
Right.
So I've had some meaningful conversations about it, so I don't mind talking about it because it's a part of me, and it's made me a better communicator. It's made me better at a lot of different things. So you're talking about my divorce, probably.
Well, yeah, or just, but
I'm
also
just guessing here now.
certainly that's a part of it, but also just personal relationships and how you just keeping with the theme of what we're talking about, like how do you balance that intense level of commitment to your sport and the life that you've created for yourself, the life you've chosen, and personal relationships and maintaining friendships and family and everything else. Like, it doesn't sound like it affected your family relationships. Like, sounds like they wanted you to pursue a career, a regular
but then
career,
they didn't love
but they
not
also
hearing from me for a few years. When the 80-hour-a-week period was happening. But I think people understand. And I am an outgoing individual. So
yes, just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
But every single person, I think, touches your life, and I don't know, they've all facilitated growth in some ways, and being able to share pieces I'm not shy about. And so, I am a driven individual and I do a lot, but I think you always have to make time for the people that matter in your life. Mm-hmm. And I think in the beginning, when I first opened a business, I wasn't as balanced because I was still this full board athlete, and I didn't know what I was doing opening a business. I thought I did, but I knew where I wanted to go, but all the little pieces, you kind of learn. And it's a lot of
filing taxes.
Yeah, I was good at that because I always did my own.
Because you were math. And economics.
I had that one. Yeah,
but managing employees.
That's the part I'm not. I'm friendly and stuff, but it's not micromanaging, and also empowering and learning different people you're going to work better with, and making sure people are in the right position that's going to allow them to grow as well, and not feel like they're in just a placeholder. And so there's a lot to do with that in communication. So I think every relationship, again, going back to communication, is huge. We all have our different perspectives in life, right? We all grow up with different things impacting us and different experiences. And so we have that perspective. And so I think when you have your own perspective, you can read into any statement or any, you have to realize people don't understand exactly what you're trying to say if you don't really detail it out. Because everyone's background is different. And I think all of the different aspects of my life have helped me learn that really well. And also make sure to ask and not have them have to ask. I think people are shy sometimes to do that, even me. And it's okay to ask, what did you, ask for more, and ask for help as well, which is really hard for me. But you just can't do it all. You want to, but I've learned to, I give a lot of energy to the people at the gym, to my family there, to the community. It's part of me. I'm that person. I'm an energy giver. But you have to remember to protect a little bit for the people that matter most in your life.
Right.
And you can't just do it here and expect, everyone to be waiting. So, my grandma is turning 90 and going into assisted, care. And so I can't wait. You have to make time because you don't know what's going to happen. Right. And we all get busy. So I think if it's important to you, you make time. And it's just like that. Same with training. People are like, I don't have time. I'm like, you spent an hour doing your hair. That's not me, but
it's not me either. I don't spend an hour doing my hair.
I bet you spend 2.
Yeah. It's a lot of work that goes into making me look this good.
Yeah.
I'll tell you.
It's all about what's important to you. There's nothing wrong with that either, though.
Right.
Is what I'm trying to say. It's what's important to you, and if it's important to you, you'll make time. And I don't think there's anything wrong. Find out what's important to you, and make sure to protect time. Like running is really important to me. Coaching's become my biggest passion, and I'm getting older, and running's still there, but some of my priorities have shifted. I'm not done, but I'm not in this like strict box anymore either. But I always, in my schedule, like I coach all day, I have my training blocks blocked out. Put it in your schedule. I put in my schedule, meeting here, making this call. Like, you have to put it and make time for it. I even schedule out my recovery at this point. When I was just an athlete, I didn't have to do that as much because all I did was run and recover and did all the steps. But even I can get, it's like you always get the meat and potatoes part done, and you might skip some of the other pieces of your, like, most
your
runners.
Vegetables.
Yeah, vegetables. Although I love vegetables, but most runners will always get their running in.
Right.
They'll skip the other stuff if they're short on time.
Right.
And I try and beseech them, you should always be doing some mobility or some strength, even if it's 15 minutes. As like you have to get it in, because your injury risk is going up, your strength, especially as you age. Like, strength training is so important for runners. And maybe that's part of my path into strength training, because most runners don't do it.
Right.
And I think when they see a runner who's doing really well and coming back stronger with a focus on strength training and mobility and, balance in their training schedule, where I run less than I've ever run, and I'm running longer in races than ever.
Right.
And most people are like, how? And I'm like, and I'm faster, because there's
and
balance.
they're like, you must be training twice as much. And you're like, no,
I'm actually
just
training less.
Training less, but in a smarter fashion.
Train smarter, not harder.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I think some people just think they just need to hammer themselves all the time. And although that's beautiful, it doesn't work. Right. Not in the long term.
Certainly, I was going to say, not in the long term. You can get
when
away
you're 20,
with that.
you can get away with it sometimes.
Exactly what I was going to say. When you're in your 20s.
But even then, I think I would have been faster and more successful and had more fun doing it differently.
Right.
Like, I only go hard twice a week. And most people think, I run hard all the time. I'm like, I run slower than a lot of people in town on my easy days. But again, it's that balance. And I think I'm really passionate about teaching that in general at this point.
So let me ask you, it sounds like somewhere along the way, it went from you being focused on just you achieving your best self. Somewhere in there, maybe when you were at the training center or something, your focus seemed to, or maybe not shift, but expand to like include helping other people achieve their best selves. Is that do you think that's a bigger part of the picture now, or how does that fit into everything for you?
It's most definitely my focus.
That is.
But in
helping other people.
The funny thing is, when you focus there, you actually get better too.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, we get so caught up in ourselves sometimes, especially when you're younger.
Well, yes.
I mean, all of us do. Still
Any
do.
of us
There's still
look,
times.
Yeah. You look back on my teens and 20s, and I'm just like, oh my God. Like, I couldn't have been more self-involved if I'd tried. So.
Yeah, there was a time in my life I was so, I'm running, I'm doing this, I can't go out, I wasn't allowed to go on, I didn't even run technical trails ever. People when I first moved here were shocked, like I would just go back and forth on like this flat section of trail. Track runner, remember?
Right.
So, and it just, as soon as I just opened up to fun, that's when my real success kind of happened. And I think that's letting people know, like, you don't have to be hard on yourself to have success. Doesn't mean you don't work hard, but my passion changed because when you start helping people more, you realize like how, I don't want to say internally rewarding it is, because that's the opposite of what I'm trying to say. Right. But like
it's both.
It's both because
external.
it's just when you take your focus away from yourself, it's so freeing. And it's just freeing to be who you're supposed to be with no judgment, and enabling someone else to be that way. It's probably one of the most powerful things. Like, and I'm not saying just in an inward, but in a just global sense. It's Sorry, I don't really know how to put that in words better.
No, I think that was great.
I have a degree in math. Didn't I tell you that part? Like talking.
Like if you could,
I can talk a lot, but I don't
like if I could just lay this out in an equation.
Yeah, can I like an equation
like
as much
me on
easier?
one side plus
X,
the other
Y.
person. We both are at
At a summation.
But one thing you just said that I want to touch on some more is you said when you started having fun is when you really that's when you really started to achieve your next level of success.
Yeah.
And the fact the other thing you said was that when you stopped beating yourself up is when you sort of stepped up to the next level.
Yeah.
Talk some more about the having fun part.
I would say every single one of my PRs happened with me giggling at the start line, not taking it. I mean, I was still nervous, so don't think I wasn't.
Yeah.
Nerves and adrenaline are very important to success. And I always say, if you're not nervous, it's not important to you. Like it's just, having control of those nerves is important, but you don't want the absence of nerves. But I think when you just take away comparison, not just with others, but with yourself, you go out and stop being so strict on yourself, so hard on yourself. And I still am at times. And I've worked a lot with a sports psychologist and how to reframe, even just changing the way you talk about something, not I have to go run, but I get to run.
Right.
Just changing the verbiage and its connotation has power. And it's huge being able to separate those two things and how your mindset and how much you can put yourself, I've told someone that I felt like I was in a box and they're like, you in a box? You're out here. I'm like, no, really, I was still in this idea of myself box. And what I should be training, and everyone thinks, oh, if you're gonna pro athlete, you have to live like a monk. You gotta do this, that, otherwise you're not gonna be successful. And I don't believe in that so much anymore, because if it's not fun, then your passion's gonna go down, your drive is gonna go down, and I think that's the number one thing for success. I mean, you have your physical talents. You have, staying healthy, which is another really important thing. You have, not just talent, but also your drive and determination. I mean, there's a whole list of things that you need to be a successful athlete, and talent's one of them. I mean, you have to have it, but if you don't have that drive, that you don't put the work in, you don't stay healthy, and I kind of forget what the fifth one was.
Well, you were talking about the joy, the fun of it, keeping you excited, keeping
that's what keeps the passion.
Right.
And so if you are hard on yourself, you always don't do anything for fun, you're always in this formulaic, your passion, it's going to become work and not.
Right.
It's not.
And if nothing else, you're going to be miserable.
Well, I mean,
and even if you're successful, you're going to be miserable.
Exactly. I think a lot of people, when they start something, their passion can turn into just a job and not their passion anymore. And you have to protect that.
Right.
And I think when I stopped having to do something this certain way, and it kind of happened right after that Achilles surgery. So it was when I lived at the training center, but I also left it and I moved to Bend at that time. It was right after that, and I mean, I'm in love. Everyone, the person who brought me here is not here anymore, but I'm staying forever.
Right.
It's exactly like the type of people, and the ideology is really embodied here in this town, and really supports people pursuing their passions
pursuing their passions, right?
That word.
Well, and I love that everything you just said about talent and work ethic and being driving yourself without driving yourself into the ground, but pushing yourself, but doing all of that with joy and because if there's no joy, you're gonna hate what you do soon enough, and you're gonna lose your passion for it. And I think that applies to any creative field for any person who wants to live an enjoyable life, who wants to live a fulfilled, and as we talked about, to bring it full circle, to be your best self. no one is going to be their best self if they're miserable.
No. And you're going to stop pursuing those questions. You're going to stop, like I study training almost every night. And not because I have to, because I can't stop myself. I literally, like, I'll be sitting there and looking up video, and Chris like, are you watching training? I'm like,
Maybe.
Like, I literally can't stop myself anymore, and
Right.
it excites me. And if I look at it differently where I'm studying, it's, or I feel like, your outlook and your like, you have to protect that. So you're so passionate that you want to figure out that problem. You want to fix it, and it's not work because it's something that you need to do, like you want to do, you love to do.
What I hear is I just hear like joy and excitement coming through. So it's neat to hear the excitement in your voice about training. It's as if this first passion of being a runner and being a professional has created, or is what led you to, a second passion of equal intensity.
Yeah.
And how lucky are you to have two passions in life like that?
I mean, they're related, but you're right.
Sure.
One's a little more applicable and can continue forever.
Mm-hmm.
Although I do see my running as continuing forever.
You'll be 80 on the start.
Maybe even
line.
90.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
I mean, do I look 37? Okay, don't answer that. No kidding. But I don't know. I believe a lot of things, and I think your passions can transform and still be similar, but grow. And it started off as trying to figure out my own body. Because I would tell you most pro athletes aren't the best coaches. Like,
Right.
I mean, they're great athletes and they have a lot of drive and they're very good movers, but being able to articulate really what's going on and to the general public is experience and a lot of work. And a lot of really delving into the body. And I think all of my injuries and setbacks, that was the positive result, or one of the big.
Right.
So like breaking my leg, it was horrible. And I think it made me better. Not think, let me rephrase that. I know it made me better. I was older at this point, already had a lot of research behind me, been coaching. I've rehabbed, I don't know how many times at that point, but that's when everything clicked on what's going on inside and the moving pieces. And my passion got stronger at teaching people just how to feel their own bodies and how to move and be better. And when I'm out on the race, I love racing in Bend now because I know everybody there. And it's just so exciting because all of us are cheering each other on, even in the event. And it makes me faster. And that's not why I'm passionate about it. I'm gonna start over on this.
But I like what the picture you were painting of racing here in Bend. Because one of the things you said about racing is that a lot of people make the mistake of they think they're there to beat everyone else. And your philosophy has been, it's a not an internal competition, but it's not about beating other people. It's about achieving your best self. It's about seeing what you are capable of.
Yeah.
And when you talk about other racers, other runners here in Bend, everyone's cheering each other on, and it sounds like everyone here is racing from that same mentality, from that same philosophy of
It's really cool. Having that energy of the crowd and the group and people you know, and knowing that you're all supporting each other, it just makes everyone else better. And not just better, but we all have more fun too.
Right, and it's joy and fun, right?
And if you look at all the success stories, a lot of them are based on that premise and really protecting that part of their sport life work, because it's not a job then, it's your life passion.
Right.
So it's pretty special in this town to have that. I've lived in a lot of towns, big running towns, and there's no group that doesn't want to hang out with this group, or you can't talk to
Right.
that coach, or this. Yeah,
It's like middle school all
Oh
over
man,
again, right?
yeah. Like I remember lots of things in my past where, and I've never really been a part of like those groups. So it's exciting to be in a town where everyone really does want everyone to do better. But that
Right.
doesn't mean you're not trying to win still.
Sure,
But
sure.
it's different. You're just trying to get the best out of yourself. And if that's first, second, third, 10th, 20th, it doesn't matter. As long as you know you gave your best. And that's the special thing to me. Like, that's why that Rocky quote, like, resonates with me.
Right.
Because that's the self-respect.
Self-respect. The self-respect,
Exactly.
right.
That's that baptism by fire. And it doesn't matter. Like I told you, I didn't win that race. It was not my best. It's probably my slowest marathon actually. And it was. I mean, I was on the ground crying out of happiness because it was
over.
everything. I know I gave everything I had.
Right.
And then you can always respect whatever you do. So. And it doesn't matter where it kind of your life's gonna go in these tangents, and you don't know where it's gonna bring you. I remember calling my strength coach from college, which I'd be like, "You'd never believe what I do now," because I was that runner that would squat when he left the room and put nothing on it. That was me at one point in my life,
Right.
and now I'm trying to go as heavy as I possibly can because, once you know the purpose and why, and trying to build yourself better. You can do things the right way.
Right.
And so that's why I'm passionate about coaching so much, because so many people don't understand. And the rehab side, because I've had so many injuries, like I think that puzzle piece, like my math side comes out because I want to figure out what's wrong and how to fix it.
That analytical aspect.
The analytical
of your-
aspect comes in, and how to verbalize it in a way that you're going to understand exactly what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Which is harder than you think, because everyone is different in what they respond to
Yes.
and what they can see. And
I was gonna say from what from my coaching background, more as a sports coach, not a personal training coach, but it's you can say the same thing 15 different ways,
Yeah.
and it'll be the 16th way that someone else interjects, and that's what clicks.
Yeah.
And it works for that person, and you're like, great, like whatever makes the message get through. But yeah, the hardest part, and maybe that's part of why a lot of athletes are not great coaches,
Yeah.
is because the hardest part is getting what's in your brain to click with someone
Somebody
else's
else,
brain,
yeah.
so that it makes sense.
yeah, knowing the why is huge.
That's the other quote that I was going to ask you about. The quote on the wall of the gym. And I'm gonna butcher it. I'll let you straighten me out. But it's something to the effect of, like, knowing why you're doing what you're doing means that you won't ever run out of motivation.
Yeah, exactly. Gosh, actually, Teresa wrote that one on the board, not me.
Oh, okay.
But I love it, and we're very in sync. So, and it's like, find your why, and
Right.
you won't need any other motivation.
Right.
That is your motivation when you find your why.
And I think that applies whether you're a painter, a photographer, a runner. If you know why you're doing it, it doesn't matter if you receive accolades. It doesn't matter if anyone else even clues into it. Like, you're doing it for your personal reasons.
Yeah, find your why.
All right, so now I want to ask you about a couple of nicknames that you have. I have a favorite in this list. But there's
Your
Rainbow
favorite.
Pixie, which
That
I
one's
think
probably
is
obvious.
fairly
That
self-explanatory.
one's pretty obvious.
Sunshine, which I
That's
think
pretty
is fairly
obvious, too.
self-explanatory. But hands down, my favorite is Tater. And I'm dying to know where Tater came from.
I don't even know where it came from, to tell you the truth. It just came and it stuck.
Okay.
Gosh, that's a good question.
I didn't know if you were like, every
the
race
story?
you had a giant bag of Lay's potato chips afterwards, or
Well, there is that.
There-
Well, my dad is a food scientist and
Okay.
works for Frito-Lay.
But so wait, but that's not where he
no,
didn't
it's
start
not.
the
But
nickname.
it might have helped it stick.
Okay,
It's like,
right.
Because it's one of my weaknesses is potato chips. I really like them. That and ice cream. But
Okay.
So gosh.
Tater.
Yeah, I don't actually that.
Were you trying to let that one die? Have
I think
now?
so. I'm like, I was hoping it was gone.
And now it's
You just
immortalized.
brought it back.
All right, good.
That's a good question. I actually don't know where it came from. I wish there was a cooler story to say. You probably thought there was going to be one.
No, if anything, I figured it would be some embarrassing background thing that had.
There's not. I'm sorry.
All right, well, that's okay. At least now we've maintained Tater as a nickname. I'm sure you're very happy about that.
Yeah.
That's gonna be in the show.
You'll have to ask Chris later. He probably knows way more about that one because he's the one that wants to keep it alive. So.
This is kind of the final quote I wanted to bring up with you is, you have power over your mind and not outside events.
Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And after everything we've talked about, like, I certainly see how that resonates with you, but I'm curious as to that doesn't just come from nothing. That doesn't just sort of happen spontaneously. Like, you have to develop that as a philosophy, as a perspective.
Yeah.
Would you say that is still your driving philosophy, or?
Yeah. I mean, I posted that one after I broke my leg.
Oh, okay.
A lot of people, because events are going to happen, you have no control.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not an Olympian yet. National champion, but not an Olympian. I still want to be very, very, very badly.
Okay. Okay.
But it doesn't also matter. I mean, it does matter. Sorry, that doesn't sound right. If it doesn't happen, it's that pursuit that is special and giving it your all. But so you have power over your mind, not outside events. So why it's powerful to me and why it's my kind of ideology is your reaction, the way you look at something, the way you let it affect you is where the power is. You have no control over a lot of things in your life. You fall on a piece of ice and break your leg. There's nothing you can do about it. But you could stay and wallow in it, or you could change your mindset about it and make it an opportunity to make yourself better, or pursue some other passion, get even deeper into coaching, get even deeper into what else in your life, lights you on fire. And that's, I think, how, if you take that into anything you're doing, you're going to be successful. Mm-hmm. And you're going to be happy. Because you have control over your mind and how you respond to what happens to you. But you do not have any power over the actual events. And you can wallow in them, be negative, let it affect you differently, stop working out, stop, whatever makes you happy, or you can just find a different way.
Right. When do you think that first hit you? Was it with your with your Achilles injury, or?
I actually think it wasn't till the broken leg. Like, I wish I could say it was the Achilles. That started my passion more in the coaching world, but and rebuilding myself and the subsequent comeback. It might be more that comeback in the end because I didn't know if I'd ever run again at some point. And
after the broken leg?
No, actually the Achilles.
After the Achilles.
Achilles is a big deal.
Yeah.
Like, the broken leg, I knew I'd run again. It maybe not as fast.
Right.
But your Achilles is a tendon that's very vital.
Right.
And to the whole push off. And mine was pretty messed up. So and then to come back and actually be faster afterwards is still like mind-boggling to me, because usually it's the end game, the Achilles injury for elite athletes in track and field.
And I would imagine, like, it sounds like you went through years of trying to find the right answer.
Oh.
And then
5 years when you're in
5
your peak of your training abilities is
and in
really long.
excruciating pain.
Pain and having to not be able to do what I need to do, and it's hard to accept at a young age. So I think maybe that was harder because I was young and, you know, had so many goals, and like I said, I was in that box. and it was just harder to accept at that time. But that journey afterwards is what changed me.
Right.
And then when I broke my leg, I went full into that rehab right away. Like, that's when I embodied that mindset. I never even questioned I wouldn't come back.
Right.
Like, it wasn't like, will I come back like the Achilles? I'm like, I'm coming back. And I'm going to do whatever I can in every step possible. And it wasn't if, it was when.
Okay.
And so when people say, how did you win a national title with metal still in your leg? And I'm like, because I didn't think I couldn't. Like, I just went for it. And it doesn't mean like every race was roses afterwards, because I had a broken leg, and every rehab is like this. Mm-hmm. But if you just don't accept it and just do your best, that's it.
Well, and I think that mindset, I have to imagine when you were like, when you weren't sure if you were ever going to run again when you're with your Achilles injury, the sort of darkness, I mean, it forces you to question your identity. It forces you, and the same thing I would imagine too with, like, in personal relationships, like it applies both to the physical and the emotional and the personal and everything else. When those things feel like they've left you high and dry, and you're wondering, what am I gonna do now?
It's a big, some of that is like how my transition happened a little bit, because you realize you can't take anything for granted. Not one step you're able to mm-hmm. complete. And realizing, there was a lot that happened during that time. I was really fortunate at the time to have a support group, and have people behind me that believed in me, right, no matter what, because it's hard because you're going to doubt yourself at times. And then I was really fortunate to live in such an inspiring place at the Olympic Training Center. And I think that's what inspired me to create, I know. It's what inspired me to create something similar, because without that, I don't know what path I would have gone in. And it changed me to create a place that is that kind of positive drive that kind of can tell people you can do anything if you want it. And as long as you're patient and you're smart and you stay positive. And so, like, one of my favorite things is one of our members came the other day, and she's rehabbing. She's just out of her boot, or she's out of her crutches but still in the boot. And she's like, I wasn't feeling good today, so I came here to feel better. And I was like, that's it. That's what I'm trying to do.
You're like, and I'm happy.
And
like,
I'm happy.
Like, yeah.
And so I think we're all a little hard on ourselves, and I think creating something positive for people was my passion, because I had it myself, and it really, not many people can have that, but I want to change that. Mm-hmm. So.
Something you just said, that we're all pretty hard on ourselves, and it sounds like you set high bars for yourself and you set a high standard for yourself, but it also sounds like you've learned to be a lot more forgiving of yourself as well, and a lot more like, embracing the joy of what you're doing, not the misery.
Yeah, and embracing your flaws.
Yeah. Like,
we all have them. Like, I really feel like every positive virtue of yourself can be a negative if applied wrong, and vice versa. Like, my competitive drive is awesome for athletics. It's not so good in, like, playing a game with your friends. Right. It can go overboard. Right. So it's learning how to balance. I like balance. I love that word, balance. balance in your life. And so I think that's where I was getting with that. Like,
but is it also creating a life that allows you to find that balance? I mean, how do you take that passion, take that joy, and create a life that lets you do, that lets you find the right balance? And it sounds like that's what you've
I mean, it's a journey. Like, it's not like it started there.
Right.
But I've worked really hard on it. But, I think letting go some of what, I had to let go of some things during that and allow the people around me to have a bigger part in that. And I think we all try and do everything ourselves sometimes. And if you want to create something like that, I think it's more fun when you get to share it with others as well. And so I have created that around me, but it took time and there was failures during it. And I think it's like not giving up on it if you just don't know where it's going to take you completely. It's not like I would have told you 6 years ago, this is where I'd be right now.
Right.
It's like it kind of morphed along its way, and it's the same vision, but slightly different than what it started out as. And I think if you relax a little bit and let your passion drive you, it ends up becoming what, instead of you just always trying to be in control of every rein.
Well, and I think that's actually a really key thing to understand, to embrace, is that you don't, it's like you don't know how you're going to get from here to there.
Yeah.
And oftentimes you don't even know where there is. But if you embrace your passions, embrace the things that you love, and do them with joy and love and sincerity, it will take you down roads that you're like, I would have never ever thought that I would end up here from there.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that is how the path has worked for you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean my passion of running's gone. It's just
Sure, no,
I have more than one passion.
Right.
And I think some people think they can't have more than one. And I'm having the most fun of my life. I'm having more, and there's still challenges along the road, but it's morphed into something it's bigger than I ever thought it was going to be. And I would have never thought that would be my main passion too. Like you even said it before, like you see me light up more talking about this than my running, which is nuts.
Which
to
kind
think
of
about
freaks
like
you out
6
a
years
little
ago.
bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, it doesn't freak me out, but I think it's like, you don't really notice, but other people outside of the bubble can see it more.
Right.
And yeah, like I think it's like you don't know. It's not all written in stone.
Right.
Like I wasn't even training people as much 6 years ago as I am now. And it's really, if you just get out of your own way sometimes and just let your passions dictate and let things morph the way they're supposed to be, you'll find where your real passion and what really lights you up. So.
What do you think is coming next down the road? Is it expanding on where you already are and what you've already created? Do you see something new coming, or is it just you're like, I don't know, we'll see what comes when it comes?
I mean, I have always plans. They're always in there. I have stuff I meant to do before I even opened. And I feel like if you ever stop searching or stop growing, that's kind of the end of finding happiness. And for me, I want to keep expanding on what I've built and fine-tuning it, being able to share it to a wider audience. And then my athletic pursuits are still there. They're back here in this corner. And I think what excites me now is more in that trail world, because it's still new for me.
Right.
I've only run like races on one hand on the trail world. And
excelled in them too, right? Like you have found success in that world.
I have, but it's still like new. And it challenges me in a different way. It's different than the numbers on the track or the road, because there's so many other factors that's not a factor. Time isn't part of that equation, because there's vert and downhill, uphill, and rocks and technical, what's the terrain, the location, elevation. There's so many factors, the length of the race, how many hours you're going to be out there, which I'm still accepting that part.
Right.
But because I'm still the athlete that likes to be fast and done. But it challenged me different because the pain is different. Like, you're going into darker places almost of unknown. Not just how fast can you go, but can I even finish? Which is not a normal question in a 5K or 10K. I can't. I think what's special for it to me is, like, I've had injuries, and I'm not done, but I also can't compare myself to myself as much in it. And I mean, I'm not done with roads and timed events and marathons, but something new that's still like the same thing. Like, it's still running, but it's a different form, a different event, and it's freeing as I age and deal with broken legs and it's easier on my body. Actually, it's softer, different foot strike. My athleticism and strength in the gym really translates there, and it's really challenging because you can't just zone out. You have to be in the moment. You have to kind of, whereas in the road races you're in the moment, but like, you're not worried about anything but the competitors and yourself and not the terrain, really. I mean, there is some hills, but it's nothing. It's not the same. So it's you against that hill almost. It's you against steps. In my case, I hate steps. And in the trail stuff, like, really not like normal steps, like rocky things.
Right. Yeah.
Big technical downhills where you have to, like, get the fear gone and let go when you're scared. It's kind of a different feeling, and you get to see so many things, like tops of mountains and different places in the world, and so I think it's exciting because I didn't do that before, and I want to see how I can translate the strength I have now, mentally and physically, into still my sport.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, how you're doing strong first and getting more into that. I'm pretty sure you didn't start in that, and it's kind of been this journey.
Right.
And you're learning other things in the training world, and so it becomes kind of this. You start getting deeper and deeper, and you find out there's more and more and more. And I think it's fun instead of staying just in one path, kind of seeing where it can take you.
Right.
Like, if you're a painter, there's so many different mediums or different things that inspire you. Like, whether you're painting Smith Rock or, a family, it's all different, in different lighting, different schemes, different motivations. Where's your mind at that day? I used to paint, so it's actually
another side of me that
a long time ago. So, it's. I think you can just find different ways to apply that same passion. So
that's great.
Yeah.
I think that's the perfect place to wrap this up. I think we can stop there.
No,
and I think you did a fantastic job.
I can keep talking if you need
today,
me to.
So. I know. I think that is. I think you've shared a lot of stuff that I think people will find fascinating and helpful. So.
There's only one thing I'd like to mention, because we talked about
please,
on the way here. Well, I was on the way here. We were in the car, and you were talking about your own journey.
Sure. Yeah.
So we were here, and you used to do everything, every part of it, and it started to get less fun.
Yeah.
And it's way more work, and you're kind of losing your passion in some ways.
Yes.
And you explain, like how did you find that out? And because I think it'll relate to a lot of people, and how you learned to give up some pieces so that you could really focus on what you really are good at and love.
Okay. So just to give everyone a little context, before we started taping, when we were in the car on the way over here, I was saying that I had done some of these interview podcast stuff previously and done them all by myself, and done the audio and done the video and did the editing, and realized or at first I didn't realize, but what I came to understand was that the editing, the trying to do all the technical aspects of the show in addition to hosting it was a huge disincentive for me and was keeping me from doing more of it. And it was only, so how I came to that realization was literally sitting down with myself in a notebook and thinking about, okay, Charlie, what is it that you really want out of this? And what I came to realize was that the thing that I get the most enjoyment out of is this part of it, is learning so much about another person, getting to have this conversation with another person, getting to be the person on camera. And it was not the technical side of it. In fact, the technical side of it was I'm not very good at it. I'm not a great editor, and I was only moderately competent with video and audio. And getting anytime in my life I can pair up with other people, work collaboratively with people, I am way happier and way more successful and far more likely to see something through, because you have people around you to help you and support you and stuff. So that's why, not that you guys can see them, but the folks behind the camera that do all the actual technical work and do all the editing and stuff, like it started as just the idea of I'll bring these folks in who are way better at editing, way better at video, way better at audio and lighting than I am. And it quickly became obvious to me that these guys that you can't see that are behind the cameras are bringing 10 times the amount of input and support and ideas and energy and excitement to this than I ever thought would be part of the equation. And it has just been, it's every time we get together and talk about it, it's invigorating, it's exciting, and it gets me more excited about becoming better at this side of it, becoming better at the side that is kind of my single responsibility, being the host and having the conversation. Like that to me is the part that I realized I'm really excited about. So it's like, okay, focus on the thing you care about and let people who are professional in the other areas do the other areas. So it was literally a process of sitting myself down and saying, why did you stop doing that?
What are your barriers?
What are my barriers? Yeah. And in this situation, it was me trying to do everything was the biggest problem.
Mm-hmm. And I so get that.
Yeah, as a business owner and a person who,
well,
has
any
many
perfectionist
interests.
will get that out there.
Right, yeah.
But, you have to at some point. But when you learn to lean on other people or just let people do what they're good at and passionate about, and then you end up creating something even better.
Yeah, exactly. And collaboration, man. I am now a huge vocal proponent of collaborate with people, whether you think you need it or not, because they will bring something to the table you would never have even thought of. You're like, oh,
that's true growth.
This is now going to be 10 times better than it would have been if I'd tried to do it all by myself.
Yeah, true growth happens that way. True change and accountability is also a big part of it too.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So thanks for asking the question. This was incredible. This was exactly what I expected it to be, actually, with your energy and your vivacity and the life you've led. I'm like, this is going to be a fascinating conversation. So thanks.
I hope people got something out of it.
I think so.
And had fun watching.
Cool.